You know me, I'm stuck in a concrete box.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. Hi, everybody. My name is Holly, and this is Holly's Pandorium, a paranormal podcast. And today with me is Freddie. Say hello, Freddie.
I,
So, Freddie is a dear friend, and I highly regard this man. This guy is doing some incredible stuff in the pagan community. And I just want to share some more things about Freddie and how he got started. And we're going to talk about some of his events. And so, get your popcorn, get your hot cocoa, get your blankie, sit down and listen to some wonderful stories. We're going to talk about a store once upon a time in Cornelius, Oregon, and how it started very modestly and where it's gone to today. So, if you wouldn't mind, Freddie, please share with our listeners and our viewers why on earth would anyone start a small store in Cornelius, and what are you doing there? What is that for?
I started a store about 4 years ago, and I decided I wanted to be in somewhere in Washington County, in Oregon, of course. And the only place I could find right now was in Cornelius, so this kind of became my home base here.
Okay.
The One of the main reasons is I really love working retail and love working with the people, and paganism was becoming a higher passion of mine, and as I was discovering more and more. But then my favorite pagan store shut down
Oh,
due,
okay.
due to the problems of just, unfortunately, the economy, and plus the great people who ran it. Unfortunately, we're getting up there in age and just we're having a hard time running it.
Gotcha.
Um, so I didn't want the community to be out a whole shop if I could help it. So I took what I could and whatever funds I had and opened the only location I could get and filled it and tried to start filling that need in this county.
That's awesome. I love that. So I know we all have our favorite little shops that we like to patronize in our neighborhoods or places that we grew up. So I appreciate that was something that was a fondness that you had for the store owners and the shop. I think we've lost a lot of our endearing qualities of shopping by doing so much online. Personally, I really love to shop in person when I can. It's not always easy to do that. Um, so it's wonderful that people can actually shop with you online or by phone or in person. But in person is kind of nice. It takes you away from your day for a minute and allows you some time to just relax and browse and take your time and think about what you're doing. Um, Tell us a little bit more about what happened when you actually started the business. What significant things took place right after you opened?
Well, I opened in on June 20th, 2020,
Oh my goodness.
right in the middle of when the coronavirus pandemic had just started.
Oh boy.
I think I just missed the shutdown days from the first necessary people, I think, as they called them, or something like that
Right. Right. Okay.
back then.
Right. That had to be quite a challenge. So what was that like?
It did create a lot of worry just due to like how many people would still come out. Plus, I needed to make sure that not only was me and my family going to be safe, but I want to make sure that the community members who did come to see me were going to be safe also and not get sick or
Right.
have any concerns over that.
Right. But I mean, what a crazy time to start a business. Good grief, Freddie. You had to have second thoughts about it after you got started, or it didn't matter. What was your feeling after all that got going?
Um, Something in me was still pushing me to keep going. Nothing was going to stop it there, everything in me just kept saying, push on and you'll get through this year. And honestly, that is actually the second best year I've actually had with the company.
Really?
With business. And it wasn't even a full year.
Wow.
But,
and here you are, it's 2024 and you're still going. So clearly that was the right decision for you, obviously.
Yeah. And as everything kind of progressed, a few things slowed down, with the economy kind of slowing down a little bit. It's kind of slowed us down a little bit. But this year seems like it's a good year already. A lot of people are kind of coming back out. And especially with pagans and spiritual people, a lot of them love just to feel the energy of the products, which is why it's so good to still have some brick and mortar stores like this and not
right.
be ordering off of online big stores and stuff
right.
like that.
And I think that's a very good point, because the store is not just for pagans. It's for anybody that has a spiritual side or spiritual nature. I want to touch on the name of the business. It's called Pagan Fyre. Can you explain where you came up with the name?
Well, the pagan part of it was pretty easily, but because I needed something that will call out to people. A few people who I was talking to about this actually advised me not to use the word pagan because they thought it would alienate me from the community. But I'm like, no, I want to be noticed in the community for.
Right. And I can say I do understand what you're saying. There's several stores that I've been to that typically label themselves as metaphysical, but they're actually a pagan store. And so for anyone that's curious or wondering, a pagan store is a metaphysical store. And contrary to popular deceptions that have been pasted out in the media, please, for your sake, as sanity, this is not a place where yucky things happen. This is a place where people are loving and kind. There's no awful things done to animals. There's no sacrifices done. This is literally a community of people that are very loving, very family oriented, and very much into nature and things that are of the metaphysical side, which is what paganism has always been. And Freddie, we were just talking before we started. Can you share with people about the confusion about the wording and what pagan actually is and what does that mean and why people mix that up so much?
In the pagan community, pagans have been known by many things, from, like, of course, pagans and Satan worshipers, and it actually goes all the way back even to probably the 1300s, even back in Celtic times.
Right.
Where people who were not known to be, were not really well understood.
Right.
Because of their magical or ability to heal others with herbs and such stuff like that.
Right.
Considered witches, or what most people considered heathens back then.
Right.
But the actual definition of the heathen was just a land dweller.
Correct.
And they were called that because they would tend to the land and collect the herbs and call them all sorts of weird names because of, mostly because of properties that they look like.
Correct. So what's interesting about that is, historically, as a culture, we've been fed a whole lot of information that's not entirely accurate. When we were kids, we were told lots of stories about babies come from storks. And as we grow up, we learn, no, yes, Virginia, there are storks in the world, but they don't deliver babies wrapped in white diapers. So this is hey, Virginia, this is what really is going on. So here's the deal, you guys. If you go to church or you don't go to church, or you believe in God, I'm wearing a cross, I'm wearing my St. Christopher's. Look, I have my own faith and my own feelings. I don't attend church because it doesn't work for me. But I happen to believe in a lot of things that are very pagan in nature. And that's kind of the way our entire culture is going. If you happen to pay attention, we want to take better care of the planet. Guess what the pagans have been doing forever? That's what they've been doing. They haven't felt to go to churches because that's not their belief system. It doesn't mean they're bad or evil. They're just different. The Catholic Church did a lot of strange things in the 1300s that didn't help the pagans at all. They tried to dominate the planet, and we all know how we feel about the Catholic Church in a lot. I grew up Catholic. I loved a lot of people that are Catholic, and I still do, and I always will, but I don't believe in the dogma. So when it comes to pagan things at this day and age, I challenge you, if you're not sure and you think, gee, I don't know if that's for me, go look. I mean, if you're willing to try a restaurant and put food in your body from a place that you've never been before, you don't know who makes it, you don't know what they're about, but you're going to give them a chance. I'm saying do this with a pagan shop. It's not going to harm you to walk in the door and take a look. And guess what? There's candles there. Candles, candles that everybody burns in their house. There's incense. There's things for prayer. There's things for divination. If you're interested in checking out what your future might involve, these are things that have been around for generations. They're not spooky or scary. They're actually quite fun. And I challenge you to just give it a shot. The whole nature and the whole energy is very loving, very community friendly, and quite wonderful. And so in general, I challenge you, if you've never been in a pagan store / metaphysical store, that's what Freddie's got. And it's a quaint little place. Cornelius is a darling town, and I'm very glad that he's got this space. He's got a lot of nice people that come in and out all the time. And there's a lot that's going on with Freddie, and I want to continue to talk about that. So for anyone that's curious, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Freddie. I've got his email on the page and his phone number at the store that you can reach him at. Just ask. There's some wonderful things going on here, and you really should check it out and see for yourself, because it's definitely something worth supporting. It's all about loving, kind things and about taking care of the world around us. It's very community friendly and very neighbor friendly, so check it out. So Freddie, you've done a lot of other things since you opened the business that I am very excited about. So I would love it if you would share with everyone what these extra events are that you've been arranging. Tell us more about what you do other than the store.
Well, sometime last year, I was trying to figure out, with all the economic issues and stuff, like, well, how can I still help out the community even more? And one of the problems I found in Washington County is there's not a whole lot of events happening for pagans or people of other spiritualities happening in Washington County. You can go to Portland and find events all over the place.
Right.
But Washington County, there was pretty dry. And unfortunately, with people's safety and little concerns of some of Portland now, even those events were starting to not be very popular just because of, you got to keep your family safe.
Right.
So we started the look to find events to be able to put on here and find a good venue.
Right.
And we found one at the Washington County Fairgrounds, also known as the Wingspan now, with their brand new facility that was just bright, welcoming, and the staff there were just great and were totally welcoming to all of our people. And so we decided we're going to try to put on about 4 shows a year throughout different months, all based around the full moon of those months.
Awesome. That sounds so great.
Which is why you get like the Fireside Moon Bazaar, or the next one that's coming up, the Beltane Moon. We have one in October called the Samhain Moon.
Mm-hmm.
And we are still in the planning phases for the Winter Moon. So
I love it. So I've attended every one of these events so far, and I've had an absolute blast. There are classes about all kinds of different things. There was one that I was absolutely fascinated with. We've talked about everything to do with psychic stuff and tarot cards. And then there's drum making. There's all kinds of wonderful things going on. So the neat part is I just, because I do work with other organizations, I want to just brag about Freddie for a minute. So this particular organization, the Wingspan Event Center, is an incredible, large event center, and it's beautiful. It was also, ironically, built during the pandemic, just like Freddie's business. This community-based organization set this all up, and kudos to them. They did a fantastic job. But in their infinite wisdom, they set up some very strict perimeters for certain things, including admission to parking and entrance. And Freddie is, so far, one of the only organizations that's provided very reduced entrance or free entrance to all of his events. So for someone that's got a family or a budget, Freddie's events are very cost effective and very easy to endure. If you want to get out and go do something, it's not going to break your wallet to go see one of Freddie's events. This next one that's coming up, the Beltane Moon Bazaar, is absolutely delightful. Like I said, I've been to all the events so far, and this is, let's talk about the type of vendors that have been there. So we've got psychics that have done readings that you can get done. There's been music. There's been people that create all types of things, whether it's diaries to jewelry to the drums to puppets, toys,
candles.
Yeah, there's tons of things. Let's talk about a couple of the vendors. Can you share with people some of the things that have been there?
We get a good amount of, like you said, psychics and crystal vendors, and then stores kind of like mine, but don't have a brick and mortar, is like
right.
One company called the Witch's Resistance, which is
Mm-hmm.
a good friend of mine, Chris Newell.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's actually been on a podcast here with Hollys. So, and you can hear that by just going back probably a few episodes. But he's always been great with trying to help out the community. And then we have like psychics like Sherry Pang, who also helps out the community in hospitals and with Chinese medicine, and Catherine Fay. She's still new to the community, but here in Oregon, but she's pretty good with tarot.
And Anya Sullivan, that does classes and a number of things with introductions to witchcraft or paganism to help people understand. And if you're just interested in something to do with psychic skills, she's a wonderful person to reach out to talk about all kinds of things to do with healing and dealing with emotional issues. If you don't want to deal with the traditional psychiatrist or medical things that maybe you're uncomfortable with pills and you want to try an alternative medicine, this type of event is a perfect place to go, because you're going to find options to deal with your health issues or concerns that are natural, non-invasive, and far more gentle to your body and mind. And they've been around for generations. This is not a new thing, you guys. This has been around forever. Can we talk about the Beltane Moon a little bit and talk about, okay, so it's going to be upcoming next month. Right now we're at the end of April almost. I can't believe it. So about a month away. This event is coming. And there's still a few vendor booths. Is that right? There's still a few spots open for vendors?
Yeah, there's still a few spots. We're looking to fill those up, and you can find all that information on paganfyre.com and look on the left-hand side for all your different options for either becoming a vendor, or if you're just looking for more information about the event,
right?
Attendee information.
Right. I'll put that back up for people to see if they're interested. And all types of vendors are welcome. Just talk to Freddie. I mean, there's been, I can't think of all of them. There's so many. There's just a ton of vendors. There was a gentleman that I sat by last time that did 3D night lights out of these wonderful different shapes, and they were incredibly detailed. He had a 3D printer at the location, and it was really awesome. And there was somebody that did cotton candy, and there were some really exotic flavors that were kind of incredible. there's a ton of different things that are available. It's a lot of interesting things to look at. There's a wonderful cafeteria that's there that has some amazing food, and the parking is private. You're not going to be on the street. You're literally in a private parking lot. It's not a hard drive to get to it. It's very easily accessed off the freeway. I live in Washington and I drive to Oregon to go to it. It's worth it. It's a wonderful event. Okay. All right. Okay. So Freddie, tell me what your plans are. Why are you doing all these events? What's this for? I wanted to boost the events, but this is a big endeavor. This is not a small thing to be setting up these giant events with vendors and people.
No, and some people thought I was a little nuts going from helping out at a few small events to holding my own that has 100 vendors, and soon for like the October 200 vendors.
Right.
And these huge arenas that have so many rules and stuff. But
right.
Again, something just told me basically you got to go big or not at all, because
right.
that's the only way it's going to get out in the community and to help the community
right.
Prosper. And I think, like we were talking about, it just helps everyone get together and have a good time. There's always people meeting each other that haven't seen each other in a while, and that's why like every time we have a show, I try to improve it a little bit by getting some feedback. And so like this next one, I'm planning to have a little bit more seating out,
right,
so people can sit and chat. And
nice. And honestly, I can say it's a blast. It's 9 hours. It's from 10 to 7. And some things at this type of event take time. If you want to sit down and take a class, it's going to be 30 minutes to an hour most of the time. If you want to eat, give yourself time to do that. But if you're going to go see a psychic, if you want to talk to a vendor about a custom product that you can order, these things are conversations. And you have time. It's not a 4-hour event where you got to hurry up. There's 9 hours. Freddie's made sure to make these events incredibly shopping friendly. So it's easy to get there. It's easy to park. It's easy to get in. It's totally family friendly. You can bring your kids and walk around and enjoy yourself at leisure. It's not a hurried event. It's a nice, relaxing, fun event. People are incredibly helpful. They're kind. I can't stress enough the variety of people that are there. The vendors come from all over the place. I mean, we've got vendors from far away and nearby alike. And the interest and level of professionalism is very high. People are very kind. They're very generous with their information. And there's all kinds of things that are just handcrafted. There was a group that was there last time that two younger gentlemen that had this very darling booth that was just all little caricatures that they crocheted. They were darling. They were super cute. They were just little, toys and things for kids to play with, or adults if you like to collect things. Absolutely beautiful.
If I may quickly interject, speaking of like little kids things,
yeah,
we've actually are working with another person who named Misty, who owns Magical Things,
mm-hmm.
and she's one who does the drum workshops and
right.
is a very talented lady. She also has a booth that she usually gets that also helps what she calls her scouts, and it's kind of like the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts, but
right.
It's not a fully official thing yet, but they're working on it to camping and stuff. But we have them come in, and that way it gives like even the kids to a chance to chat and have some fun, and
it's more wilderness based, isn't it? It's kind of a nature thing for kids to participate in, right? And I love that. that kind of interaction for children is absolutely necessary. They need to be able to learn about what's outside. They're indoors way too much, as far as I'm concerned, especially with COVID. If they're not climbing the walls, we all are. We know we need to be back outside doing some cool things, and it's definitely her calling. She's very good at it, and she's darling. I love Misty. She's wonderful. Um, but genuinely, I mean, the classes are very cost effective. Some of them are free. Some of them are what, $30 or so to go attend. Does that sound right?
Some the drum workshops, if I remember right, is like $150 to $200 depending on the drum. But
Right.
that's
But that's
because you're paying for the deer skin and
right.
everything else.
Right.
Basically, you're paying for the materials. Misty is almost giving her time away to
Right.
teach this, but
Right.
you walk away with a fully functional drum that you made.
That's amazing.
It's a
That's
great thing.
incredible. Right. But I mean, like, I guess I should rephrase it. The classes where they're talking about tarot or talking about psychic stuff, that's a different price range altogether. And
Yeah,
that's more of an informational type thing. Is that right?
yeah, those would be usually maximum $30 at
Right.
most.
And
Some of them are free.
right.
We don't charge for all of them, but depends on the practitioner or the presenter.
Sure. Right. So there's a lot of avenues that you can pursue in this type of a situation. And as he was saying, there's basically four events a year. So list them off again by name. What are the events called again, and what time of year are they?
The Fireside Moon Bazaar is in February.
Hmm.
The Beltane Moon Bazaar is going to be in May.
Right.
The Samhain Moon Bazaar is going to be in October.
Okay.
And the Winter Moon Bazaar is going to be in December.
Okay. And again, they're all one-day events except for the October event. Is that correct?
Yeah, the October event we're doing an experiment to see how our vendors and our attendees like it. If I get really good feedback, then we may go to 2-day events for maybe 2 of the shows during the year.
Nice.
Probably Samhain and Winter Moon.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense. That's definitely cool. So let's talk about your store for a minute, and let's talk about the types of things that you have in your store and what people seem to be most interested in. Because you were telling me when we talked the other day that it's interesting that there's some things that are more popular in the store and not so much at the business. When we went to the Oregon Ghost Conference, what are people buying mostly? What are people interested in when they come into your store? What are they buying more frequently?
Probably the highest selling stuff is going to be the tea light candle, or not tea light, the chime candles,
Hmm.
and any of the smudging accessories.
Okay.
Is going to be my highest selling items. Um, Herbs are really big once I get them back in.
Hmm.
A lot of people love how I have the 1 ounce herbs, and we're working on getting those in now.
Hmm. Well,
And
they got to be seasonal, I would imagine. Some things are not available all year, I would think.
no, not always, but a lot of times I try to stock up on things that are going out of season. That way I kind of have them through the slow time.
Right. And I know you have incense because I've bought incense from you. You have wonderful incense at your store that I love. And you're,
Yeah,
yeah. And what
I
other
carry
kinds of things do you?
multiple brands of that.
Oh, nice. And what other kinds of things do you carry?
I'm starting to carry mortar and pestles, more boxes. They're both wood and soapstone. Um, I also carry actual like stones, rocks, stuff that people like. But then I go also to what some people might consider a darker side, but some people just consider divination. Is I carry the pendulums, I carry tarot cards, but then I also carry spirit boards.
Okay. All right. Those are interesting. And then I know that you have, so you have tarot cards too. Did you say that? I don't remember.
Yeah, I carry tarot and oracle cards.
Okay, good. Okay. That's interesting. And then you have books, and then you also have something that I thought was really interesting when I was in there last. Um, you have these printed pages that you've designed that have prayers and basically positive things to focus on. They're like poems almost, where they're very, I'm not describing them very well. I'm sorry. But Freddie is actually a very artistic person, and he's put together these things that are just, you could frame, or just, I don't know, something that you would put in your office or where you like to meditate. And they're very sweet, and they just talk about things to do with what to focus on, I guess is a good way to put it. And they're lovely. And he has this wonderful book with plastic pages, and you can just pick out the ones that you want and buy them. And they're very inexpensive, and they're lovely. You do a good job. I love those, by the way. I have like 7 of them. They're
Yeah,
awesome.
those pages are great, and that was one of the other big things about opening my shop too. Is I also wanted to be known as a not a cheap store per
Right.
se, but a as some people have started calling it, affordable paganism,
Okay. That's fair. I think that's a fair statement. That makes sense. Yeah.
where I'm not going to carry like the most specialized or beautiful stones or these $300 amethyst stones or
Right.
carrying a whole bin full of moldavite,
Right.
but I'm going to carry the stuff that this general uh, pagan or spiritualist needs in their everyday life.
Right. Well, and from my own experience, the size of the stone is not predominant to the effect. A tiny
Yeah,
stone is just, and a rough stone, even one that's not overly polished, is just as effective as a stone that is ginormous and beautiful to look at. So I appreciate that, because paganism on a budget and affordable paganism is a great tag. I love that, because there is a lot of commercialism to all religious things and all types of beliefs, and it strikes me as odd that you're one of the only ones doing what you're doing. I think more people would be gravitating towards that, Freddie, frankly, because it's not a time when we're loaded with cash to do things. And sure, we're used to our polished stores. We're used to going to, when you spend more money, you get more. But it's not always the case. I mean, anytime you go shopping for things to do with spiritualism, or like you said, or divination, things like that, sure, you can go to Powell's Books or one of the bigger bookstores and buy tarot cards or instructional cards or divination tools, and you could spend 30 to $50 without batting an eyelash. Or you
yeah,
could go to a small business like Freddies, pay a more reasonable price, and get the same exact cards, exactly the same cards. So my vote is that people come to your store and try shopping locally, because I believe that that's a very underrated thing that we need to promote. I think people forget that there used to never be monopolies. There used to not be giant box stores. All there was home run mom and pop businesses everywhere, and they eventually became giant. McDonald's used to have one place. Taco Bell had one place. They all start somewhere. And I hope for your sake, Freddie, that you franchise someday in the future, because it would be amazing to me to see little shops like yours in every state, where people can comfortably go shopping in a pagan metaphysical environment and feel safe and know that they can go in and believe what they want to believe and think what they want to think. And I've noticed that a lot of people that are of a Christian faith and have Christian beliefs, they have crystals in their homes. They burn candles and pray just like pagans do. It's no different. A prayer is a prayer. A prayer is a pleasant thought that you send out, and it's all good energy. There's nothing yucky to it. So let's support each other. Let's be kind to our neighbors, and let's think about more of these things. I think that's more important. Um, Freddie, can you share with us for a minute how you connect with your pagan belief, and how does that work for you? I mean, how does that affect you? How does it work to be someone that believes in pagan beliefs? How does that affect your thinking or your day-to-day life?
um, my beliefs are, of course, being any type of pagan, your beliefs are going to be your beliefs. It's not in a book or a Bible or
Right.
specific religious text that says you have to be this way.
Right.
So everything I believe is basically what I have learned works with me and for me.
Right. Okay.
And I have a basic tenet that I believe comes specifically from the pantheon of Wicca,
Okay.
or the tradition of Wicca. I'm sorry,
Okay.
and that's in it: harm none, do as ye will.
Hmm.
And basically, the only thing I had to define for myself was what is harm, which
That's a
is
good
going to be
one.
different for every person.
Right.
So for me, harm is just not challenging people, not like making fun of them, not harming people or
Right.
animals, none like unnecessarily, stuff like that.
Right.
Where like even like a vegan will have a completely different definition that they don't want to even harm animals for any reason.
Right. Right.
But
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
and we respect all beliefs here, and even mine is going to be, like I said, different. So, but it's all about your intention. Is your intention to do bad or evil or whatever you want to call it? Because I also believe that magic is not black or white. It's completely gray all the way across. The simplest thing can be turned to evil or can be the greatest good,
Right.
all depending on what the situation and your intention is.
Right. But what I love about what you're saying that makes the most sense to me is this is about how you feel about your part of being in the world today. And you want to be a good person and you don't want to hurt anybody. That's as basic as you can get.
Yep,
That's
really what
very
we need.
simple. And I love that because number one, it's a simple philosophy and it kind of takes away the idea of anything being misunderstood. There's no confusion about be nice to everybody, be kind, be thoughtful, but do as you feel. And I think that is a big open spot for people to be themselves in the most original way possible, to not confine anybody's beliefs, to not structure anybody so that they don't feel like they can be an individual and be free to be unique if they want to be. I think that we need more of that type of thinking. I think we need to be more accepting and more kind. I feel like our generations have lost some of their kindness. I know that we've had cruelty throughout each generation in one form or another, but I feel like we've lost some of our courtesy to our public relationships. I think we have too many keyboard monsters, and that we need to start being more public and be around each other and remember that we're all very much in common. We all have a responsibility to ourselves and our families and our neighbors. We're all connected. So I love that. I love that philosophy because it's simple and it makes sense to me. So thank you for sharing that. I know I put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But no, it needs to be shared. People need to know that it's very basic. It's not anything scary or weird. It's actually incredibly simple, and it's very kind and loving in its nature and its act.
And I also want to just say that with my shop here, I invite anybody to come down, whether you're Christian belief, satanic belief, pagan,
Mhm.
Jewish, Muslim.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Let's have an open dialogue. Let's
Right.
chat and see what we have in common, or if you have questions about the belief, let's clear up inaccuracies.
Right. That's a beautiful invitation. I love that.
Be open.
Right. I think we should be. And because I think unfortunately we've listened to too much hype on television and radio even perhaps. I think we need to find out for ourselves. I think we need to make up our own minds and really focus. Because to me, it's all about getting through this life. Nobody's life is without trial. There isn't a single person I know, wealthy or poor or in between, that isn't struggling with some part of being a human, whether it's your health, your relationships, your job, your family, whatever it is. Everybody's got things to figure out. And I think that's where faith comes in. It tends to help us get through the tough times and help us to celebrate the good times. But it's also a barometer. It kind of gives us a balance of how to make it through life and feel like you're doing okay. You know, am I being generous? Am I being kind? Am I being thoughtful? Am I being a selfish snot? What am I being? You know, and kind of figure things out a little bit. I love that we all have a different way to figure that out, but we can live harmoniously if we try. I truly believe that. So I advocate all of this dialogue, and I really hope that people take more time to learn more about your store and to come and see you. I would also like to ask, is there other ways for people? Now, I've got your email and I've got your phone number running across the bottom of the screen. Can you please share your .com again really quick? And will you spell it for people that are listening that can't see what's on the screen? Can you go ahead and just spell it out for them?
Yeah, the website is paganfyre.com. That's PAGANFYRE. And most of that was spelled that way to be a little bit different, but it's also of the belief of, with the other shop closing down in Hillsboro, that Pagan Fyre, like a phoenix, will rise from the ashes and become something new, reborn.
That's awesome. I love that. That's so cool. Okay, and if you want to reach Freddie by email, you can use paganfyre503 at Gmail, and that's PAGANFYRE 503 at Gmail, or you can call the store at 971-371-4135. That is awesome. So Freddie, of all the events that you're doing, starting this event, you said you have a background in retail that you've done, or you've done retail quite a bit.
Over 12 years.
Yeah. So what is it like being a promoter and actually doing these giant events? That's a big thing for you. What are you finding out? What is it about this that's become so amazing? Because I know people have had a lot of good feedback about your events. What is it like being a promoter? What's that like?
It's honestly a new skill. It's honestly pretty stressful, but just what makes a lot of it worth it is seeing people like leaving with products and happy. Like I think it was the Winter Moon Bazaar. I remember we had this great guy who was selling plants, just a bunch of succulents and like carnivorous plants. And I was just seeing people left and right just taking these plants out and talking about them and just so happy, and just talking with the vendors. It was just, they were happy, even if some of them didn't make as much money as they were hoping. They always said they had so much fun. They were talking with their neighbors. They had people they were talking to. That it was just a fun event. There's just a lot of good energy that's flowing through there. And that's a lot of what I want to see. And that's the great thing about being the promoter and the person who puts all these on. And it just makes me happy to see the community happy.
Yeah. Well, and for me, there's a lot of things that I don't know that I would have seen otherwise. Because quite frankly, I went through a phase in the 80s and 90s where I went to craft fairs a lot. And I went to, big open stores that had been purchased and revitalized. And they made like an antique mall or a craft mall down in different parts of Oregon that I went to in Medford and Ashland. And they were fun, but they didn't last long. So some of those have gone out of business and there's not so many of those anymore. But that environment is what's at this type of event. And so I love that because I get to talk to somebody who runs their own business. And you talk about how they start. There's a lady there that makes dragon heads. They're so cool. They're the most amazing things ever. There was a lady that made these beautiful tiaras that were like a fairy would wear. They were incredible. I mean,
Yeah, she
there's
also did the elf ears that everyone was loving too.
right. I mean, they were just super fun. They were incredible. And there's a couple of booths that have beautiful leather made, diary type books and incredible candles that just they're wonderful. I have, Chris's candles are one of the main candles that I buy, and I bought soap and I bought, all kinds of little things and genuinely it's good quality stuff. I have no complaints. Everything that I've purchased from different vendors, I've been incredibly pleased with. And so I love it that I get to hang out all day because I get to meet most everybody. I try to. There's a lot of people there to see, and I challenge anybody to see all the vendors in one day because it's not easy. I'm there the whole time, and I don't always get to visit with everyone like I would like to.
I agree with you. I try to do the same thing, and I don't always get around to everybody, even though I am there literally from 7 in the morning till
Right.
9 o'clock at night.
Right. But that's what I mean. There's so much to see. It's very fun. And gosh, people have just getting out of the house and doing something just for the pleasure of it, just for the fun of it. You don't have to buy anything, but at least walk around and look, and you'll be shocked and awed at some of the creativity. I have to give a lot of applause to anyone that is a homemade crafter because the energy and time that goes into these homemade crafts astounds me. There's people with skills that I would never have that it just blows me away. And I love to see that. And then of course there's vendors that have stuff that they're just reselling that's retail, but they're great things. They're wonderfully well thought out and they're lovely decorated and everybody's been incredibly kind and nice. So it's a fun event. Not once have I seen anybody miserable. Everybody's been really happy throughout the whole day, which is great. Because sometimes when you go to the big camper sale things or those, it's like people look exhausted. They start to look droopy and they're kind of and they're getting schlumpy by the end of the day. Not here. People are having a very good energy and they're happy when they come in and they're happy when they leave. So I love that. I think you're right. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway that I get is the whole event is positive, which that's unusual. How many people do you see in the grocery store that look happy? So this is a much funner way to go shopping, and just because.
And speaking of like going shopping, we also asked you don't always have to come as you normally would. Come as how your spirit wants to be. If you want to dress up in robes or whatever, we encourage it. We would love it.
Yeah.
I don't personally wear a cloak there because I'm running around so much it gets too hot.
Right. Oh, sure. Yeah. I didn't think of that. Yeah. Well, and you had a gal that was dressed up as a fairy that was doing psychic readings. That was incredible. That was so pretty. Yeah. That was so.
And then the hair accessories, nice tinsel and stuff. I love
fairy hair. I got that.
Fairy hair.
That
I don't have long enough hair for that yet.
Oh, I hope she's back again because that was fun. That lasted for weeks and weeks. I washed and dried my hair, and that stuff was still in there, and it was didn't have trouble sleeping with it. Never had a problem with it. It was great. I loved it. But I don't know if I would have found her other than a place like what you had. That's why I think these events are so important because there's stuff that you just don't normally come across.
Plus, events like this, speaking on more of a professional manner here, but events like this help our economy and help all of our small businesses and the
Right.
people who run them, because
Right.
there not a lot of people have the money to open up a brick and mortar, or are always able to be at a store like this. Some people have kids that they have to take care of, or aging
Right.
parents, or they have many different situations that they're in, that the weekends are the best time for them.
Right.
Or like
That's a
some,
very, yeah, that's a very valid point. There's a lot of people that can't set up a store. It's not possible. Or, and to be fair, and I'm sure anybody that did any Christmas shopping and tried to ship or mail your stuff, I spent $350 to mail Christmas gifts. Wow. So if you have a business online, that's a huge expense. I'd much rather see somebody sell at an event like Freddy's, because that makes more sense to me. If you're able to do things in person, by all means, it's more cost effective for the person that has the business and you as the consumer to get those products directly instead of having to be shipped. So that's another bonus. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of situations where that's their only other income. So
yeah,
yeah, I definitely support that. I want to support those people. They're never going to sell to Walmart. They're never going to have enough product to go in a big catalog somewhere. Um, the little bit of stuff they do is all they've got. There's a gentleman that is in Vancouver that has a wonderful coffee shop, and he has this little ornamental display of jewelry. And it's for a lady that's disabled. She does not have a regular income. And so she makes money by selling earrings that she makes and necklaces. And if this guy with a store didn't give her this opportunity, she doesn't have another way to do things. She's not computer savvy. She doesn't have things online. She literally only sells in this little store. That's her only revenue source. If he closes down, what is she going to do? It's just one of those things. It's a unique circumstance, and it works for both parties. And I think that's what Freddie's store is, and I think that's what his events are. They're a unique opportunity for shoppers and for people selling goods. So if you are a vendor and you're thinking about, maybe I want to do this, I'm going to tell you right now, you won't regret it. It's awesome. The familiarity with his events is growing. He's just starting out, and it's not ginormous, but it's getting there. It's getting very busy, and it's getting very full, and the vendor expansion is there. So definitely contact him and get the nuts and bolts and find out what works. And Freddie's organized. He actually has quite a bit of information. He's good about staying in contact with people, and he's just helpful. He's easy to work with. So, and what's cool is all of his events are in the same place, which makes it really simple. So if you like the event next month in May, which I highly recommend you come to, the next one in October is in the same place. So it makes it easy.
it's also accessible to many people, because of both the parking lots and being right next to a platform, max platform.
Hmm. Oh, that's right. I didn't know that. That's right.
Yep, the Hillsborough Airport Max uh, Transit Center is right there, along with one other bus line that goes through there also.
That's incredible. That makes it much easier. And in case I didn't say this before, this is all indoors, you guys. So this is not an outdoor market. This is an indoor market, and super easy to get to, as Freddie was just saying. And there's lots of options to get there. If you don't drive, you can take the bus or the train to get there, which is kind of awesome. I think the city of Hillsborough really outdid themselves. This was a great event center. I love it personally. It's beautiful. It's super clean. It's very handicap accessible. My husband is legally blind, and we are very comfortable going in and out of the restrooms. He's safe. He feels safe in there. He feels comfortable walking around. It's a wonderful location. So we really appreciate the location. It's a great spot. Definitely. Is there anything else that you would like to share about your store or your events?
Nothing that comes to my mind right now. talked a lot about all of them, and
Yeah.
I would just like to see a lot of people come. Like you said, even if they don't buy anything, at least come talk to us. If you see me in the aisles there and you have a suggestion, please don't be scared. Feel free, come up to me, talk to me. If you think there's a better way to do something, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Because my job as a promoter is not just to put this on, but to put on a good event for both the attendees and the vendors.
Right.
So
I love that.
all the costs that I get on the back end honestly are not extremely high. I do this mostly, like I said, for the vendors and the attendees. So
Right. Right. Well, I appreciate you taking time to talk with me today, Freddie, and I think we've had a great conversation, and hopefully we've shared a lot of things that have made people happy to find out, and hopefully they'll come and join us. So this is Holly from Holly's Pandorium and Freddie from Pagan Fyre saying thank you so much, and we hope to see you at the next event in May on the 25th in Hillsborough, and if not, in October or December. This is Holly saying goodbye from Holly's Pandorium.
every night.